Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Odyssey Recaps, just the Tea edition. Today we're recapping the final book of the Odyssey, Book 24, which Emily Wilson has titled Restless Spirits. Now, we last left off on yet another cliffhanger, with Odysseus, Telemachus, and Swinebro and Cowbro arming themselves and sneaking out of town to go and find Odysseus' dad and Telemachus' grandfather, Laertes, and tell him that his son is actually still alive and he's back and everything's okay now. Athena is helping to hide them from the townspeople who are going to be big mad when they find out that they've massacred the suitors because some of the suitors were Ithacans and had families and people who cared about them in town. So that's where we left off. So naturally, chapter 24 opens with the messenger god Hermes taking the spirits of the dead Dubro suitors down to Hades. Because that's definitely the storyline we really want to follow right now, not the cliffhanger fight to the death one, but the spirits of the Dubro suitors. So Hermes leads the suitors' spirits down to Hades, and they find the spirits of a bunch of very famous dead Greek heroes. The spirit of Achilles is talking to the spirit of Agamemnon, and he's all like, OMG, Agamemnon, it sucks so hard that you didn't die heroically in battle. You were such a good warrior, and dying at home is just so unfair and, super lame. And Agamemnon is like, you were so lucky that you died at Troy. We had the sickest funeral of all time for you. It was crazy. And they're talking about how dope the funeral was and how undope Agamemnon's death was when Hermes the messenger god walks by with a gaggle of dead dude bros, and Agamemnon recognizes one of them and runs up and is like, OMG, you're dead? How did you die? What happened to all of you? Was it a Poseidon-based sea disaster? Or some cattle rustling? Or light piracy gone wrong? Or maybe a small war or something? You have to tell me. I'm a friend of your dad. Remember when I stayed with your family in Ithaca for a month while I was trying to convince Odysseus to come to Troy with us? Lol. He so didn't want to come. But yeah, what happened to you guys? Now, the Dubro answers and he tells them that it's basically all Penelope's fault. Okay. And that she and Telemachus and Odysseus worked together to trap and murder them, and then sort of admits that, yeah, the suitors had, low-key insulted and abused Odysseus in his own home when he was in disguise, but, still, they were tricked. They're the victims here. Also, a god was helping Odysseus, so how is that fair? And yeah, they were all murdered, and now their bodies are lying in some random courtyard, and they're not even being given funerals at all. And Agamemnon, of course, just, again, makes it all about himself and is like, OMG, Odysseus is so lucky to have such a great wife. Unlike me. My wife sucked. She murdered me. She sucks so much that she gives all women a bad reputation, even the good ones. This man murdered his own daughter so he could get to Troy faster and, murder other people's children. And he doesn't see, any reason why his wife might want revenge. Nope. No reason. She's just evil or crazy. Of course. I can't. I hate Agamemnon so much. I despise this man. Anyway, we cut back to Odysseus, and that's it for the Dubro suitors. So Odysseus and his crew make it safely to his dad's farm. Odysseus sends the other three into the house and heads off to find his dad, who, you'll remember, is said to have been driven a little crazy by his grief and is living in rags and sleeping in ashes and dirt and just generally having a bad time. Odysseus finds him in the garden and decides that now is the perfect time for a little prank. He wants to test his dad and see if he'll recognize him or not. He finds his dad, and he walks working in an orchard, and Odysseus walks in, stands under a pear tree, and just cries for a bit when he sees him because his dad is looking unwell and is dressed in rags and just looks really bad and really sad. Odysseus thinks about just running up to him and hugging him and being like, I'm not dead, it's all okay, but decides that the prank/test is going to be more fun or whatever, and so he goes ahead with that plan. So he goes up to his dad and is like, OMG, you are such a good slave. You're so good at gardening, but you look terrible. Your master is neglecting you, and you need a new everything and a bath. You should also probably not be doing hard labor at your age. Anyway, whose slave are you? Where even am I? I'm looking for a man named Odysseus. He came and stayed at my house a while ago. I gave him so many gifts. Really nice one. And I also gave him some slave women. He picked them out himself. I am such a good host/sex trafficker. Anyway, now it's my turn to visit him, and here I am. Do you know where he lives? Now, Laertes starts crying and is like, we don't know where he is. He's probably dead somewhere. We never even got to throw him a fun funeral. Everything sucks and we're all sad. When did you see him last? Also, who exactly did you say you are? And so Odysseus comes up with yet another very elaborate backstory where he's again secret royalty and is like, yeah, I saw him 5 years ago. Sucks. I really thought he was going to make it home. And Laertes just sobs and falls to the ground and starts pouring ashy dust over his head and just like crying. And Odysseus realizes that he might have gone a little bit too far with this prank, and so he breaks character and runs over to his dad and hugs and kisses him and is like, "Dad, it's me, your son. I'm not actually dead. I'm back. I'm fine. I'm thriving. And I murdered all the dude bros wrecking my house, so it's all good. You can stop being sad now. Everything's fine." Laertes is like, "Prove it." Which, yes, correct amount of suspicion. So Odysseus is like, "Well, here's my scar from when I was on safari with Grandpa, and also I know how many trees are in this orchard and what type they all are because you told me when I was little." And Laertes knows it's really him, and he just full on faints with joy, like just passes out. Odysseus grabs him, and he eventually wakes up and is very happy, but he's also like, "Did you say you murdered all the suitors? I feel like that's gonna have repercussions. Maybe we should do something about that." And Odysseus is like, "Yeah, sure, but not until we've had some food." And so they go back to the house. Laertes gets washed and like oiled up by a slave and dressed in nice clean clothes. And then Athena comes and like sprinkles him with some like sexy magic and makes him look all like tall and strong and young again. And then they all sit down for a meal and a nice chat. Some elderly slaves come in and they're really excited to see Odysseus, but he's like rude to them, like weirdly rude to them. And so they all just go back to eating and chatting and having a good time. Meanwhile, the families of the suitors in Ithaca have finally discovered the slaughter, and they're all sobbing and retrieving the bodies and burying them and sending the other bodies home to be buried in their own islands, and they are all pissed, like really, really pissed. They're super mad that Odysseus not only didn't bring back all the men and ships he left with, but has now gone and killed more of their young men. They decide to find him and kill him before he can escape on another sea journey, which is like a good instinct because Odysseus literally just told Penelope that he's leaving again almost immediately to go and do more raids to replace the animals the suitors ate, and also to go on like a DLC expansion quest to appease Poseidon so that he doesn't get like murdered at sea. So all the townsfolk are getting real riled up. But then the bard and the houseboy that survived the massacre come out and are like, "Guys, Odysseus is at least one god helping him. Like, maybe rethink this plan." And then an old warrior stands up and is like, "Also, your sons kind of deserved it for how badly they were acting. And some of us told you to stop them from behaving that way, and you didn't, so it's also sort of your own faults. Let's just put the pitchforks down and maybe just, like, stop all the fighting and murdering here and just, like, draw a line under this whole thing." About half of the crowd are down for some peace, but the other half, including Antinous' father, who's sort of like their ringleader. They're all like, "We want blood." So they arm themselves and head off to find and kill Odysseus and Telemachus and probably the slaves that fight with them. Athena sees this happening and she heads up to Mount Olympus to ask Zeus what to do. And Zeus is like, "Babe, this is your party. You figure it out. But if it was me, I would advise you to put a stop to all the fighting and make everyone swear to live in peace and let Odysseus be king forever. And we should maybe just like make them all forget about the murders and make everyone just like kind of chill out a bit." Athena is like, "Fine, whatever," and heads back down to Ithaca. Odysseus and crew are finishing their meal, and Odysseus is like, "Someone should probably go outside and check if there's like an angry crowd headed toward us, maybe demanding blood or something." And a slave runs out and comes back in and is like, "OMG, that's exactly what's happening out there. They're nearly here," and they look super mad. So everyone in the house goes and arms themselves, and they head out to meet the mob. Odysseus leads them out and is hyping his son Telemachus up, being all like, "This is so exciting. You're making your first, like, battle. You're gonna be in there and get some, like, murders in. Make sure you don't embarrass me or our family. We're known for being super good at fighting and manliness, so, like, get good." And Telemachus is all like, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll fight super good." And Laertes is like, "What a great day. My son and grandson are arguing over who's the best fighter and who's gonna do the most murders. This is the best thing, and it's not at all disturbing or indicative of a need for serious psychological intervention." Athena, who refuses to pass up an opportunity for cosplay, is disguised as Mentor yet again, and she comes up to Laertes and is like, "Bro, you should throw your spear now. They're not even looking. It would be so funny." And so Laertes is like, "Lol, great idea," and he hurls the spear, just like Athena told him, and instantly kills Antinous' dad, just like one-shots him right out, just like his son. Then everyone rushes in, and there's a very brief battle, and Odysseus and Telemachus are doing a great job at killing more of their own people, until finally Athena's like, "All right, this is fun, but we better break it up before you guys kill everyone in town, lol." And she yells at them to all just, like, stop fighting and go home. All the townspeople are like, "All right, when a god says to go, we go," and they turn to head back to town. But Odysseus wants to keep fighting. But then Zeus sends down a giant thunderbolt, and Athena stops Odysseus and is like, "Bro, Zeus is gonna be, like, big mad if you don't stop. You're gonna have to figure this out in, like, a non-bloodthirsty way." And Odysseus is like, "Yeah, all right, sounds good. That works for me, too." So Athena, still in disguise, makes them all pinky promise not to fight each other ever again and just live in peace. And that is where it ends. And yes, that is a bit of a weird ending. It's really abrupt and it doesn't really feel very finished. And people have thought this for ages. We have fanfic going back literally thousands of years of people writing different endings to the story or different versions or doing like sequels. And some of them are really weird. Like some say that Odysseus had a son with Circe, and in at least one version, Penelope ends up marrying that kid. Like, ew. That's definitely something you'd find on AO3 though. But anyway, I really love that people have been adding to this story for so long. And also, this version isn't even really the original because the story was told long before it was ever written down. So this is also sort of fanfic, I guess. Either way, if this ending doesn't feel very satisfying to you, you are very much not alone. And if you want to go and write your own version of the ending, you will be in excellent company because that is what people have been doing for literally thousands of years. So that's the end of our recaps, guys. I have had a fantastic time recapping the Odyssey for you, and I hope you've had fun too. If you want me to recap anything else, let me know. I'm more than happy to do it. I'm thinking of doing some Senecan plays next because, you know, why not just go full gore? But thank you so much. Let me know if there's something specific you want me to cover, and thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I hope I'll see you again soon.